Today in Entre Nous, we're focusing on French breakfast. And for more on this, I'm joined on the set by our Solange Mougin. Hi, Solange.
Hi, Jenny.
Solange, June 9th is la Journée nationale du petit-déjeuner, or breakfast day in France. What exactly do French people eat for breakfast?
Well, contrary to what one might think of a typical French breakfast, leisurely enjoying a croissant at a terrace cafe, French people generally, they do not do that on a daily basis. Every individual is different when it comes to petit-déjeuner, or French breakfast in French. But we do have some figures on this highly ritualized €8 billion industry in France. Currently, 70% of French people, as polled by Opinio for the trade magazine LSA, they eat breakfast on a daily basis. So 70% do, or over 70%. That is at least during the work week, with over half eating in less than 10 minutes or less, and mostly at home. Yeah, I don't eat breakfast. Most in 10 minutes or less, rather than on the run, and mostly at home. Older generations, they reported eating breakfast more than younger ones, 83% compared to 57%. And overall, the notion of breakfast as the most important meal of the day, well, that is eroding in France, like in other nations. And there is actually a funny anecdote, or fun anecdote rather, about this. One of the first mentions of breakfast being the most important meal, well, it came from the 1917 issue of Good Health magazine, whose editor was none other than the co-inventor of flake cereal, John Harvey Kellogg. Now, the 3 meals a day institution was only really established by the Industrial Revolution, timing our days. And over the decades, many people, well, they admit that they just, myself included, are not hungry in the morning.
Sir, what do you have for breakfast?
Tea with milk.
You don't eat?
No.
What wakes you up in the morning? Hunger?
No, it's my mom who wakes me up. Otherwise, I'm not very hungry.
Well, studies are all over the map about whether breakfast is necessary for adults. For kids, it is shown to be important. It is obvious that marketing has had a major impact on what we eat for breakfast. Hello, my desire for multicolored Fruit Loops as a kid that my mom said no to. But incidentally, actually, those Fruit Loops are different here in Europe, as the dyes are different, and it's supposedly less sugary. In France, if we make generalizations, breakfast is mostly sweet, with lots of chocolate, and actually hot chocolate, often drunk out of bowls. Bowls are a big thing for some people. And the same LSA poll about the 7 out of 10 eating breakfast, it found that the go-to thing people generally consume au petit-déj is tea and coffee, followed by bread, butter, fruit juice, and pastries. Unlike in other nations like Germany and the UK, savory breakfasts are quite rare here, with often less protein, even if that may be changing with more focus on protein in French society, more eggs and nut butters.
Right, because one of the staples of breakfast here in France is what we call a tartine.
Yes. For those that do not know the word tartine, a tartine is a piece of bread that you spread with butter, jam, and potentially chocolate hazelnut spread, which is very, very big here in France. But the main ingredients are in flux, so the type of bread and the type of spreads. They are changing for some people. Let's start with the bread, and then we'll go to the spreads. While the baguette remains the central icon of French culture with its UNESCO status, and studies like the Pour one that shows that 93% of Parisians, for example, they live within 5 minutes of a boulangerie, the prominence of the baguette is changing. According to the French Federation of Bakeries, baguette consumption has gone from around 700 grams, more or less 3 baguettes a day in the period around World War II, afterwards, to currently half a baguette a day, or just under 100 grams a day. Now, the baguette is still the go-to bread for the majority of French people, but there are now other options. So independent bakeries, they are actually suffering and having to adapt to both really cheap baguettes in supermarkets and increasingly bakery chains like Paul or Marie Blachère, which is actually, after McDonald's and Burger King, it's the 3rd fast food chain of France. So they're the cheap bread that people are moving to, and that's hurting independent bakeries. And most of France's some 30,000 boulangeries, bakeries, they are independently owned. And then there's a new appetite for specialty breads, or ones that last longer. This move is largely being provided by what's being called des néo-boulangeries, or new bakeries, bakeries that often offer bread bread with less refined flour, more natural yeast, and breads that last longer. And many of these are often hip and more expensive, and many actually don't even carry baguettes anymore. So there is this shift towards different kinds of breads that French people are consuming in their morning tartines, not to mention another long-lasting, very popular bread here in France, and that's sliced white bread. In the land of the baguette, there is lots of options when it comes to sliced bread. 86% of French people eat it.
Right, the infamous pain de mie. All right, you mentioned it earlier. Let's talk about these spreads, pâte à tartiner, particularly the chocolate hazelnut one, which really has some steep competition.
Yeah, the brand Nutella remains the go-to brand for a majority of French people that eat chocolate hazelnut spread. And Ferrero says that France is Nutella's #1 producer of it, among one of its top consumers as well. There is competition, though. 60 million consommateurs found that there are over 60 types of these spreads on offer in supermarkets, such as nocciolata, noiserie, and actually nutritionists have warned and long warned that they aren't all equal and few are actually good for you.
4%.
4%.
C'est une pâte à
It's a hazelnut spread with only 4% hazelnuts. A spread is a treat. We don't eat it to nourish ourselves or to get vitamins and minerals. No, we eat it for pleasure.
On prend ça pour le plaisir.
Now, in recent years, consumers in France are increasingly turning towards other types of spreads, namely ones that are potentially less chocolate-filled, namely peanut butter or beurre de cacahuète. Sales have grown triple-fold in the past 10 years. In 2023, it grew by 23%. But again, peanut butter may be more nutrition-filled and healthier than, say, chocolate and hazelnut if it's in its pure form, but it is high in calories. So very little goes a long way in the morning.
Indeed, especially if you do have breakfast, which is my case, but not yours, right?
Yeah.
All right, don't forget, if you want more Entre Nous, you can always check out our website. You can do that on France24.com.